In terms of global education and strategic budgeting, what haven't we talked about yet? What's something that we haven't covered that's important if we're helping to educate others that are trying other institutions?
That's a very important question. There's a major challenge about all this. It's making the case politically. And I don't mean politically in terms of the country's politics, any country's politics. It's more when you bring in the global aspect. And for instance, the importance of international enrollment, you tend to think, and that's the human condition. We like to protect our turfs. We sometimes feel that if people come into where we live, they might be taking something away from us, or they might be reducing the resources available to us, and so forth. That's human nature. And so it often happens that when an institution is trying to make the case, for instance, to invest more in international research or international connections towards innovation, or on investing more on international student recruitment to increase its international enrollment, for instance, it's easy for some people to think that there is money that we're not investing in the community where the institution is located.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the main issues with making the case often. And I think what is needed then is really to counter that argument is to show that the benefit, the return on investment of this international education or internationalization initiatives, the return on investment is more beneficial to the community than not investing in it. So the return on investment is higher than it is if the institution does not invest that money globally or internationally. I think that's what sometimes is lacking because it is very easy to make the case that resources that are spent on international across borders outside of the country might not return to the country, might not return to the institution and to the institution's community. But they do. And in fact, those reports I mentioned earlier, just about any talk I give on international education, are based on the amazing work that NAFSA does, but also based on a lot of information from the Institute of International Education and, as I mentioned, the US Department of Commerce. They show the gain from, for instance, just international enrollment. Those reports are just about economic impact or economic value of international students in the US. That's really the scope of the report. And so those reports can be used to show that at least in terms of economic value, it's always easier because it's basically numbers to show that the economic value is there and that the return on investment of having more international students at a certain institution reverts into the community and stays with the community. Now, there's the non-economic impact that might be more difficult, but if we look at the list of all the Nobel Prize winners residing and working in the US of the last 30, 40 years, let's see how many of them actually were international students or international scholars who came to the US and then stayed and resided in the US and got the Nobel Prize while working here.